Right. So as you can imagine, life in the prior household was very difficult. That first week, I felt so many different emotions I can't even begin to explain. My world had suddenly ended. I wasn't who I used to be, and I knew that I was never going to be that person ever again. I had to learn to find ways to survive. I learned to just basically learn new things that I had never had to worry about dealing with before. I now was the father and the mother of the house. I can remember that very first week. My mom was there with me. We had the crowded house full of people for the first couple of days, but they all had to go back to their lives, and it was understandable. And I just remember thinking, man, I don't know what I'm going to do that very first night that my mom goes back home and I'm in the household all by myself with the kids for the very first time. It was a terrifying thought. I hadn't had my wife not be there in almost 7 years, and now I was going to have to do it for the rest of my life without her. So I had many ups and downs. I had times where I actually, had pleaded and begged for the Lord just to take my soul, just take me. I had no other purpose here in the life. And, though many would question it, and say, well, you have kids, you have 5 kids. Why would you want to just leave them, leave them without a mother and a father? It's just something you can't really explain very well. Um, it's not that you don't care about them. It's not that you don't love them. It has nothing to do with that at all. It's just having that person who was your life, that person who is your eternal mate, the one that you had fully planned on spending the rest of your life with, was suddenly taken from you. No warning, no goodbye, nothing, just gone. And just wanting to be with her more than anything. Just wanting that so badly. And you would justify, I would tell myself the kids are going to be fine. If something happened, and I'm not talking suicide whatsoever. I'm talking about just, I just pleaded that the Lord would just take my soul from me. Just take it. Just let me go. But yeah, like I said, you would justify. You would find reasons that the kids would be okay. There was many people that would take care of them. They would understand. Their mother and father loved them so much, and that they would get to be with us again one day. But every time that thought came into my mind, the thought of also just wanting to be there for my kids, to be the most incredible father ever, to make Sharla's legacy live on, to continue, was more important than anything. I knew I'd be together with her again one day. There was no doubt in my mind that would happen. Time was an enemy. Time for me seemed like it was not moving. It wasn't moving forward, just stood still. And the constant thought that my wife had passed away was in my mind, never left. I actually sat down and started to look at a picture of Sharla. It was the very last picture I ever took of Sharla. And I just stared at it, just like, this is it. This was the very last image I ever got of her. There wouldn't be any more. And I started to kind of reflect a little bit more on that. And that's when I started to write. And I just kept going and going. And just after a while, I typed out this really long thing. It's probably one of the most viewed writings that I have to date. It was called Charlotte's Last Picture. I thought I would read it. I look at this picture, and not only does her beauty shine forth, but I can just see her wonderful spirit. I lost my absolute best friend on August 16th, 2012. I never thought those words would ever leave my mouth. I apologize to be so graphic, but I can't stop reliving the horror of being woke up at 2 in the morning by my sister because the babies were crying and Charlotte just wasn't getting up to feed them, only to find out that my wife was no longer there in spirit. I love her so much. And the moment I held her, I knew that she was gone. I felt hopeless. I knew that I would never see her or talk to her again in this life. I did get that last moment right before I went to bed. You see, we were out of town at my sister's house in Camarillo. We were on vacation and going to Disneyland the next day. She had discovered that night that she had a kidney stone, 8 millimeters, she would tell me on the phone. I couldn't quite comprehend just how big that was. She tells me that it was about the size of a grape. Then she tells me the doctor prescribed her this new medication, one that she'd never heard of. She never stood a chance. That medication was just too strong for her. I lost my wife. That evening before I went to bed, I was sleeping on the couch next to my 3 girls, who were on the blow-up mattress next to me. Sharla was asleep in the other room with my sister, and the twins were in the pack and play. She said that she had missed me so much that day. She'd been stuck in the VA hospital all day for over 6 hours while they ran all sorts of different tests. She laid next to me on the couch and snuggled me. We were so excited about the next day to go to Disneyland and talked about the new Cars Land and how excited that were finally getting to go see it. I started dozing off, and about 15 minutes she asked me if she wanted to let me go to bed. I had said yes, and she told me that she was wide awake and was going to lay on the floor in my sister's room so that she wouldn't disturb my sister and just veg out on the laptop. That was the last time that I would ever see her alive. After writing that just now, I froze and started to stare at the screen. The image just kept playing in my head. I can't help but think, what could I have done? What could I have changed? Why was I so selfish to want to go to bed? I hadn't seen my wife all day long. And all she wanted was just a little bit of time for me. My sister had offered to switch me to sleep on the couch so that I could be next to her. The only reason I said I would take the couch is because I knew Sharla had a hard time sleeping at night and would want to be on her laptop, and I needed to be completely dark in the room so I could sleep. If we would have only known that the other name of the medication that they gave her was one that they would have done any patient teaching on the medication, would she have taken it? That day the VA had offered to let her do a sleep clinic because they wanted to monitor her sleep because she had had so many issues being able to sleep. Would she still be alive if she would have just said yes? So many questions and what ifs. But now I know that I cannot focus on that. I know that I cannot wonder about questions or that will never have an answer. I feel sick. I feel almost as if I'm standing in front of a split in the worlds of 1,000 different ways to go, and I have to choose right then and there which one to take. I'm not sure if it'll take me to certain doom. Sharla, I need you now more than ever. It's kind of weird to say, but I need you to hold me and help me to mourn your death. I can't be all negative, even though I do believe that I have every right to. I need to heal, and being negative and sad all the time just will make me even more alone. I cannot push away the ones I love. I cannot be afraid to accept help. I can't be afraid to cry in front of anyone but my kids. Sharla fulfilled her promises she made to the Lord in this life, and I believe that I, in a way, knew what was going to happen in this life, and I accepted that because for some reason I do not know yet. Yesterday I had one of the greatest experiences of my life. I had called my bishop of the church to come over to give me a blessing. As he had laid his hands on my head and gave me a blessing, I remember thinking that I needed to listen to every word for inspiration. That only lasted seconds in my mind because it started to wander off, and instantly, without a doubt, felt her lean in front of me where I was sitting in the chair and slip her hands through my arms around my waist and hug me tightly with her head on my chest. It felt as real as it had in real life. Not even a few seconds later, without warning or word, my daughter Delaney walked in, knelt in front of me, put her arms through my arms around my waist and hugged me tightly with her head against my chest. I teared up. I felt as if it was Sharla. I knew that she had been there with me. Yesterday I had to choose where in the cemetery to place my wife. I thought of picking out a location wouldn't be that difficult. Boy, was I wrong. I spent what felt like an eternity trying to find the best place for her. Then it came to me. She was buried in the military section, and there was a huge memorial with all sorts of different service flags flying. Where that memorial is and where it meets the sidewalk, I started to walk in one direction. I took 12 steps. Then I turned towards the grass and took 24 steps. 12/24 was her birthday. I just felt right. I had thought originally of doing the year we got married, but the thought of taking 2,006 steps might be much and wouldn't have any cemetery anymore. So we have this picture, the one I was talking about. The last picture I ever took of Sharla. She looks so happy. And I know that she is happy where she is at now. Many of my families and friends have said they have already felt her presence, and some have even said that they've heard her voice telling them not to worry. I will carry on this blog. I will make sure that the Pryor family continues our story, even though she may not physically be in it. But I know that everything we do and say will include her spiritually. Rest in peace, my love. The kids will know who you were and the many lives you touched. The support has already been tremendous, and I know that it will continue. I will have days where I will hurt like there's no tomorrow. I will have days when I just want to hold you for comfort, to be held and be comforted. I will even have days where I might curse Charlotte for leaving us. But I know that in all these days, one thing will always be true. My love for you is everlasting and will continue to grow for you. I'm now looking at a picture on the blog where it has all 7 of us. The only picture that we ever got of all 7 of us. See, my twins are only they were 8 months when she passed away. We hadn't had the opportunity ever to get a big family picture of us. This picture is what I'm talking about in this next part. I then see this picture, the only picture that I can recall that we had of all 7 of us in it. I will treasure this picture. It will help me to remember that we are an eternal family. We are sealed together. And that means that in death, we are all bound to each other and will continue together in this life. I was once told that in this life is just a stepping stone to get to where our life really begins, in the eternities together. Our life here is just to prepare us for what is to come, and I believe that, and that no one will ever take that away from us, or me. If I don't have the belief and hope, then I really have nothing to live for. Thank you for everyone that has touched our lives. I say "our" because I may have not known you personally, but from your stories, I learned so much. I want to know everything about Sharla. I know there was so much more that even after 7 years, stuff that I didn't know about her. Please tell me it all. Every story you have of her. There will never be enough. I promise. That was the letter that I wrote to Sharla. Thinking back on it now, I reflect of how hurt I was, how much pain I was in. Just trying to think of the day when I wouldn't feel that hurt anymore. I've come such a long ways, because I've always had hope. I've always been good at opening up, sharing my feelings. My focus has shifted so much now that I actually search for people who need help. Ones that have gone through this or might go through it soon. I want to be their comfort. Even though those words that people constantly said to me that you will be okay, things will get better. Though those words were much appreciated and nice, it was much too hard to see that even as being a reality, as being a chance of hope. So I'm trying to find a new way to be able to reach out to those. Instead of just telling them it's going to be okay, to show them through my experiences. And hope that I can help touch the lives of others that need it. I'm so grateful for where I am now. I miss my wife every single day. Not a moment goes by where I don't think of her. But it's different now, because I can start to see a future. I don't put her on the back burner. I never have. I never will. I respect her. I love her dearly. And she's been called home, where she belongs right now. I am here where I belong now. And I'm going to do everything that I can to accomplish the goals that I have set. And I think you should too. God bless you. Continue to follow my blog as I will continue to update it. I will continue to give more videos of the experiences that I've had, the miracles that I've seen, feeling her presence, having my daughter actually see her.